Very, very good morning to all of you, my friends. Welcome back after a long break. So, I hope you guys were able to solve questions on service costing. There are few queries. 1 second. So, good morning, Dinesh Kumar. Yes, we will distribute it in the ratio of number of students. It was a very lengthy question. I took, I think, approx an hour to solve this question and explain you guys in detail. Let me check, Tambeshwari. Good morning, everyone. Yes, Srinivas was not well. That's why. Very good, Hardik. And good morning, dear. So, good morning, everyone. So, now without wasting time, let's start with the next part of the syllabus. So, a very important chapter from examination point of view, that is standard costing. In every attempt, you will find a question on standard costing. And from practical point of view, also, this chapter is very important. You will learn a lot in these sessions of standard costing. So I request you guys to actively participate in the sessions. Whatever the questions I'm asking, do answer all the do post your answer to all the questions. I assure you guys, you will, by the end of this session, I assure you, you guys will be thorough with standard costing. Many of the student faces this problem that there are so many formulas in standard costing. Approx, let's say 15 to 16 formulas are there in standard costing. Now, guys, as I say, there are no formulas in cost accounting. So, in throughout this session, I'll be discussing the concepts that why these formulas, how come these formulas, what's the practical use of this chapter. So, do pay attention. Whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post your queries. So, let's start with standard costing. We call it as variance analysis also. We call it as variance analysis also. Now, this chapter, even though the name says costing, but very important, guys, this chapter is not a part of cost accounting. It has nothing to do with cost calculation. It's a part of management accounting and it assists management in decision making. What is standard costing? It's not related to cost calculation. It's a part of management accounting. And it assists management how it assists, that I'll be discussing throughout this chapter. Now, when talking about standard costing and variance analysis, what is standard costing and variance analysis? So let's start, guys. Now, see, every company do set up benchmark targets or standards at the beginning of the year. Every company. Now, at the year end, what companies do, when the actual results are out, they do compare these targets set with the actual results. Now, अब टारगेट सेट और एक्चुअल रिजल्ट्स के बीच में कुछ तो डिफरेंस आएगा ही. So that difference between the target set and the actual result, we call it as variance. The difference between the target set and the actual result, we call it as variance. So this standard costing technique first help us to calculate the variance. That what are variances? The difference between the target set and the actual result. We call it as variance. And now, why these variances? What are the reason behind these variances? Who all are responsible for these variances? That also standard costing technique help us to figure out. So good morning, everyone. Those who have joined bit late, still few students are joining. So standard costing or variance analysis, we can use interchangeably. Every company do set up benchmark targets or standards at the beginning of the year. And when the actual results are out, they do compare these targets set with the actual results. Now, जो difference आता है target set और actual results के बीच में, we call it as variances. Now, what are the reason behind these variances? Who all are responsible for these variances? That also standard costing technique help us to figure. Let's say I set up a target that I manufacture 10,000 units. I set up a target that I manufacture 10,000 units using, let's say, 20,000 kgs of raw material. I set up a target that these 10,000 units will be manufactured using 20,000 kgs of raw material. This was my target set. Now, when the actual results were out, these 10,000 units were manufactured using 22,000 kgs of raw material. When the actual results were out, these 20,000, instead of 20,000 kgs, these units were manufactured, 10,000 units were manufactured using 22,000 kgs of raw material. We can say there is an excessive usage of 2,000 kgs of raw material. So this is all what we call as variance. That is the difference between the target set and the actual result. Now see, there is an excessive usage of raw material. So it's not a good sign for the company. So we call it as adverse for the company. One second, guys. Preeti Kumari, again, I say that I have set up a target that I will manufacture 10,000 units. That is, 10,000 is my actual production. So for actual production of 10,000 units, we set up a target that it will be manufactured using 20,000 kgs of raw material. But when checking the actual usage of raw material, these 10,000 units were manufactured using 22,000 kgs. That is 2,000 kgs. There is an excessive usage. So we call it as adverse for the company. Another example, let's say I set up a target that I'll manufacture these 10,000 units after working for 25,000 hours. But when the actual results were out, I came to the conclusion that these units were manufactured using 24,500 hours only. These units were manufactured in 24,500 hours only. That is, we can say that 500 hours is what? My efficiency. 500 hours, my worker did a great job and they efficiently worked and saved 500 hours. So we can say it's a good sign for the company. So we call it as favorable for the company. Another example, let's say I thought that I manufacture these 10,000 units with an overall overheads of, let's say, 5 lakh rupees. I set up a target that the total overhead to manufacture these 10,000 units will be 5 lakh. However, when the actual results were out, my actual overheads were 5 lakh 50,000. Again, what we can see that for these 10,000 units, how much extra we spent? 50,000 rupees. Again, we can say that it's not a good sign for the company, so we can call it as adverse. So ultimately, what standard costing technique help us to figure out that how to calculate these variances? What all variances we have to calculate? And what are the reason behind these variances? That also standard costing technique help us to figure out. If you guys have any doubts in this part, you guys can please post. Further, I request you guys to please copy this explanation. Good morning, Ankit. Yes, Ambeshwari. If the actual results are not good for the company, we call it as adverse. And if the actual results are favorable for the company, we call it as favorable. If it is a loss to the company, we call it as adverse. If it is a profit to the company, we call it as favorable. Now, let's say I'm the owner of a company. I'm the owner of a company. What I'm concerned about at the end of the day, what I'm concerned about, what is my final motto? To earn profit. Let's say I'm the owner of a company. What I'm concerned about at the end result, I'm concerned about profit. Now, let's say I provided enough of resources, and depending upon my past experiences, I set up a target that at year end, I will earn at least a profit of rupees 5 lakh. And to earn a profit of 5 lakh rupees, I accordingly provided man, machinery, material, resources. And I set up a target that at least I will earn 5 lakh depending upon my past data and experiences. Now, when the actual results were out, my actual profit was 3 lakh 50,000 rupees only. That is much less than what I expected. I set up a target that I will earn 5 lakh, but when the actual results were out, my actual profit was only 3 lakh 50,000. 1 lakh 50,000 less than what I expected. We call it as adverse for the company. So adverse now and onwards we will denote as A, and favorable we will denote it as F. Dinesh, let me complete this session, then only I can explain you in detail that what standard costing technique help us to figure out. So I set up a target that at least I will earn a profit of 5 lakh, but when the actual results were out, my actual profit was 3 lakh 50,000 only. That is 1 lakh 50,000 less than what I expected. Now ये जो 1 lakh 50,000 का loss आया, what are the reason behind these losses? Very simple. See how profit is calculated. There are two factors, two elements that are important to calculate profit, that is sales and total cost. How we calculate profit? Sales minus total cost. This is the way we calculate profit, right? These are the two elements that are involved in calculating profit. So either there must be some disturbance in this part or there is some disturbance in this part. So if there is any change in profit, it can be either due to change in sales or it can be either due to change in cost. These are the two factors that are responsible for these loss of 1,50,000. Now, when talking about cost, as I said initially also, there are three major elements of cost. What are the three major elements of cost? Material, labor, and overheads. Overheads can also be classified in two parts, fixed and variable. So these are the departments that are involved in calculating profit. First one is sales, second one is cost. When talking about cost also, there are three major elements and three departments are involved, that is material, labor and overhead. Overhead can further be classified in two parts, that is fixed or variable. So ultimately problem kaha hua hoga? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In either of these five elements, kuch na kuch disturbance hua hoga, and because of this, there is a loss of 1,50,000. Now, ultimately, what I will do, see, at the end of the day, I provided enough of man, machinery, material, and I set up the target of 5 lakh. Now, my actual profit is much less than what I expected. So I have to figure out that who is the person behind this loss of 1,50,000. So what I will do is I will carry out a detailed investigation. What I will do, I'll carry out a detailed investigation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 departments to figure out कि problem कहाँ है? Where is the problem? Who is the person responsible for this loss of 1,50,000? So in standard costing, we'll be investigating each and every department, right from sales, then material, then labor, then fixed overhead, and then variable overhead to figure out that who is contributing how much to this loss of 1,50,000. So from examination point of view, this part is not in syllabus. So we will be carrying out the investigation of material, labor, fixed overhead, and variable overhead department only one by one. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post your queries. Those who want to copy this part can please copy. So ultimately, we will be investigating material department, labor department, fixed overhead department, and variable overhead department to figure out that who is the person responsible for this loss of 1,50,000. Sales part is not in your syllabus. I'm good, Ankit. Let me complete the investigation of material department, Dinesh Kumar. I'll address your query at that point of time. Anyone else with any doubts or queries till now? We are starting with the investigation of material department because at the end of the day, as an owner, I need to figure out that who is the person responsible for this loss of 1,50,000. Yes, Ankit, well said. So let's start with the investigation of material department. Now let's take it very practically that let's say I'm the owner and I have figured out that there is a loss of 1,50,000. Now what I will do is I'm starting with the investigation of material department. And let's say I call the head of material department that Mr. There is a loss of 1,50,000. That is, I did achieve the result, and I think your department is contributing the most. So what head of material department will say that just give me some time. I'll prepare I'll prepare a detailed report and will submit it to you that मेरा डिपार्टमेंट लॉस में कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहा है या नहीं कर रहा है एंड फर्दर हु इज द पर्सन रिस्पांसिबल इन माय डिपार्टमेंट फॉर दिस लॉस if there is any loss in my department. So let's start while for preparing, let's start the preparation of the detailed report of material department. So what head of material department will do? Now he has to prepare a detailed report that who is the person responsible for this loss in his department. So let's start. Now, what head of material department will do? He will calculate the variances that yes, agar mere department mein loss hua hai ya nahi hua. And if it is there, then who is the person responsible? So he will prepare a detailed report. So what he will do, he will calculate the variances. That is, what is the target set and what are actual result and what are the differences. So what he do, he first see the targets, that what are the targets given by the company. So he first check the budget, that what are our company policies as regards material. So let's say he figures out that two types of raw material are used for manufacturing the products. Let's say X and Y. And when talking about the quantity uses, if we are using 60 kgs of X, then for Y it will be 40 kgs only. So the overall input will be how much? 100. So again, the head of the material department, what he will do, he will first see the target set by the company. So it is given that if we are using 60 kgs of X, we will use 40 kgs of Y. The total input will be 100. Let's say the normal loss is given 20. So my final output will be 80. Guys, do make a note of it that the company is not saying that you have to manufacture 80 units only. The company is saying that for every 80 unit, for every 80 unit of output, this will be the statics, wherein X, usage of X will be 60, usage of Y will be 40, the total input will be 100, 20 will be the normal loss, and 80 will be the output. So this data is given for every 80 units. Company kahin pe bhi ye nahi bol rahi hai ki you have to manufacture only 80 units. It is given, this data is given for every 80 units of output. Further, the company has also given that at what price we will purchase. So you have to purchase X for 5, Y for 4. So this is the budget that is given by the management for every 80 units of output. Again, focus on the word that this data is given for every 80 units of output. Now, he will check the actual results also because he need to calculate the variances or deviation. Now, when talking about the actual results, he used 700 kgs of X, 300 kgs of Y. The total input was 1000. The normal loss was 300 and the final output was 700. Further, when talking about the purchase price also, for X it purchased at the rate 4 and for Y it purchased at the rate 5. It purchased X at the rate 4 and Y it purchased at the rate 5. So the total cost is 2800, 1500 and 4300. Again, I repeat, when talking about the investigation of material department, what head of material department will do? He will first see that what were the targets set. And when talking about the target set, this data is given for every 80 units of output. Management ने बोला, management में ऐसा नहीं बोला कि you have to manufacture 80 units. This data is given for every 80 units of output. That हर 80 units पे X will be used 60, Y will be used 40, 100 will be my input, 20 will be the loss, and 80 will be the output. But yes, when the actual results were out, we manufactured 700 units, and this is the data. Now, my question is, guys, to everyone, are these two figures comparable? Can we say like that, okay, we were supposed to use 60, but we use 700. We were supposed to use 40 kgs, but we use 300. Can we say like these? Are these two figures comparable? Can we compare these two figures and calculate the variances? My question. Waiting for your answers. My question, are these two figures comparable? क्या हम लोग ये कह सकते हैं कि भाई 60 kgs यूज करना चाहिए था, हमने 700 kgs यूज किया? Can we say like this, yes or no? So I've got answer from Hardik. Okay, so Tambeshwari, yes, in proportion when we can compare. No, my question is very simple. Are these two figures comparable? Yes or no? Good, Ritika. Sarthak is saying yes. Tambeshwari is saying yes. So can you please explain why yes? Okay, Ankit. My question, are these two figures comparable? क्या हम लोग कह सकते हैं कि ये दो फिगर कंपेयर कर सकते हैं या नहीं? Yes, everyone, waiting for your answers. Bhumika, Anjali Kashyap, Deepak, Dilip, Gurminder Kaur. Okay, Tambeshwari. Good Anjali. Good Srinivas. Now see, these two figures are not comparable. These two figures are not comparable. Still, I got yes from few of the students. Dinesh Kumar, again incorrect. Yes, your answer is final answer is correct, but your explanation is incorrect. So for the students who didn't understood, see guys, this data, budgeted data is given for 80 units of output. And this actual data is given for 700 units of output. Let's take a very simple situation. I'm the manufacturer of shirt, and management has given the target that for every shirt you will require 2 meters. This is the budget that is given by the management. This is the target that is given by the management, that you have to use 2 meters to manufacture one shirt. Now, when the actual results were out, I manufactured 5,000 shirts using 10,500 meters of fabric. For 2 meters fabric, we will manufacture one shirt. That was the target given by the management. But actually, when we manufactured 5,000 shirts, the actual usage of raw material was how much? 10,500. So my question, are these two figures comparable? Can we say कि 2 meters use होना चाहिए था, you have used 10,500 meters? It means 10,498 meters का loss हुआ. Are these two figures comparable? No, because this budgeted data is given for one shirt and this actual data is given for 5,000 shirts. These two figures are not comparable. See, it should have been like, for one shirt we require 2 meters. So for 5,000 shirts we should have used how many meters? 10,000 meters. एक शर्ट बनाने में 2 मीटर लगता है, तो 5,000 shirts में कितना लगेगा? 10,000 meters. So to manufacture these 5,000 shirts, we should have used 10,000 meters. But instead of 10,000 meters, we use 500 meters extra. We use 500 meters extra. So we can say this is the variance. So similarly, here also, we are using 60 kgs and we are getting an output of 80. Here we are using 700 kgs and we are getting an output of 700. So these two figures are not comparable. Why? Because ये budgeted data कितने units का दिया हुआ है? सिर्फ 80 units का दिया हुआ है. और एक्चुअल डेटा कितने यूनिट्स का दिया हुआ है? 700 यूनिट्स का दिया हुआ है. वेरी गुड नयन. So these two figures are not comparable because their output is not same. One shirt 2 meter, 5,000 shirts we should have used 10,000 meters, but actual usage was 10,500, 500 meters extra. Yes, these figures are comparable, but we can't compare 2 meters with 5,000 meters. Why? Because their output is not same. So very important, to compare two things, we need to check that their output should be the same. So now these two figures we cannot compare. So what we have to do is we have to prepare revised standard or revised budget. We have to revise our budget. That because ये budgeted data 80 units का दिया हुआ और actual data how many units? 700 units. So we have to revise our budget. Now, just like this, we are using 60 kgs of X for manufacturing 80 units of output. So for 700 output, how much? Can you guys tell me what will be the quantity to manufacture 700 units? 700 units बनाने के लिए कितना quantity use होना चाहिए था? Just like this, one shirt 2 meter, 5,000 shirt 10,000 meters. So similarly, 80 output 60 kg. So for 700 output, how much? Waiting for your answer. So Sanya has posted the answer. These two figures I want. Not even these two, only this much. That's it. For X, how much quantity we were supposed to use? You have to post the answer that how much quantity we are supposed to use for manufacturing 700 units. So I've got answers. Good morning, Mr. Balachandran. Good morning, B. Kiran Kumar. Kambeshwari, I've got your answers. Subhavna, correct answer. Vaishnavi, correct answer. Nayan Patil, correct answer. Neeru, correct answer. Kasak Yadav, incorrect answer. Sanya, please check. Sanya, your answers are correct. Very good, Hardik. Very good, Dilip. Bhaskar Das, incorrect answer. Nitin Prajapati, incorrect answer. Ritika Gupta, it's just a cross multiplication, my dear. Just the same concept. What is this? One shirt, 2 meter. It means 80 units. How much? 780 units. How much? 60 kgs. So for 700 units, how much? Kasak Yadav, again incorrect answer. The simple cross multiplication you have to do. 80 units, 60 kgs. So for 700 units, how much? Very simple, guys. Simply cross multiplication. So for X, we are using 60 kgs for 80 units. So for this 700 units of output, how much? 525. So to manufacture these 700 units, how much quantity we were supposed to use? Only 525 kgs. But instead of 525 kgs, how much quantity we actually use? 700. So we were supposed to use 525 kgs only for X. Similarly for Y also, 40 kgs for 80 units of output. 40 kgs for 80 units of output. So for 700 kgs of output, how much? 350. 40 kgs for 80 units of output. For 700 kgs, how much? 350. Again, this 525 units should be purchased at the rate 5, and these 350 units were supposed to be purchased at the rate 4. So this will be 1400. $875 should have been my total input, but my actual input was 1000. See, 20% is the normal loss. Then only we will get an output of 700. So 875 into 20%. So this will be 175 will be my normal loss and 700 will be my output. So in short, very simple, guys. For these 700 units of output, this should be my cost. But for this 700 units of output, this is my actual cost. I hope this part is clear to all. Anyone having any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Very good, everyone. Few of the students didn't posted the correct answer. Very good, Balachandra. Very good, Nancy. Very good, Ankit. So in short, for these 700 units of output, हमारा cost कितना होना चाहिए था? This much. And the amount actually spent for these 700 units of output is this. So these two figures are now comparable because the output is same. So very important when talking about investigating the material department and calculating the variances. The first thing what we will check is the output. So in case of material, the basis of comparison is what? In case of material variance, the basis of comparison is what? Output. What is the basis of comparison? Output. Srinivas, sir, why we have to mention revised in standard quantity? See again, just focus on what I'm saying. Keep everything fresh and clear and just start from scratch. You will understand standard costing. अगर आपको कुछ पहले आता है तो just skip it and focus on what I'm teaching. Then you will be able to understand it in a better way. So why we have revised this data? Because the output are not same. So now we have the figures readily available for us that for these 700 units of output, how much we should have spent? 525 kgs of X at the rate 5, 350 kgs of Y at the rate 4. However, for these 700 units, how much we actually spent? 700 kgs at the rate 4 and 300 kgs at the rate 5. So for these 700 units, how much we should have actually spent? ये 700 यूनिट्स बनाने के लिए एक्चुअली खर्चा कितना करना चाहिए था? 4025. But the amount that was actually spent is how much? 4300. So how much extra we spent? How much extra we spent? 275 extra we spent. So we call it as adverse for the company. So this is the extra material cost we incurred for manufacturing these 700 units. So we call it as the difference in total cost, we call it as material cost. That is the total cost we were supposed to incur is 4025, but the amount that is actually spent is 4300. So how much extra we spent? 275 extra we spent. We call it as adverse for the company. Alternatively, we can say that for X, we should have used how much kgs? 525 kgs at the rate 5, but we actually used 700 kgs at the rate 4. Similarly, for Y, 350 kgs at the rate 4 and 300 kgs at the rate 5. So here we can say 100 extra, and here we can say 175 extra we spent. So total it is 275. If you guys have any doubts in material cost variance, you guys can please post your queries. See, Ritika, just check here. The budgeted output is 80, actual output is 700. So compare करने के लिए I have revised these figures from 80 to 700 to calculate the variances. See why I am focusing this much on this question. The point is, before starting with the solution, first you guys should understand that what the question is asking. Ab solution, generally what the students do, they just rush towards the solution. But instead of rushing towards the solution, first focus that what the question is asking. Then, so that's why I have explained in detail that why we are preparing revised standard. So this is all what about material cost variance. Now the head of material department is now well aware about that uske department mein loss hua hai. Assuming let's say these figures are in 1000 because I have taken an overall loss of 1,50,000. So assuming these figures are in 1000. So now the management is well aware that there is a loss in material department. Now what head of material department will do? Now he has figured out that there is a loss of 275 from his department. Now what he will do, he will figure out that why this loss of 275. Now see, when talking about this overall cost difference, two figures are contributing. First thing is what? There is a difference in quantity. That instead of 525 kgs, we use 700. Instead of 350 kgs, we use 300 only. So there is a loss of 275. And what the head of material department has figured out that there are two factors. First, since there is a loss of 275, two factors are responsible. First, there is a change in quantity. Second, there is a change in price also. So there is a change in quantity and there is a change in price. These are the two factors responsible for these loss of 275 because ये लॉस कहां से आया है? क्वांटिटी में भी चेंज हुआ है और प्राइस में भी चेंज हुआ है. Now what head of material department will do? He will call the first person of his department who is responsible for price. He will call the first person of his department, that is the purchase manager, who is responsible to purchase the product at competitive price. So what he will do, he will call the purchase manager. He will call the purchase manager that Mr. Purchase Manager, I think you didn't perform well, and because of this, our material department has contributed to the overall loss of the company. So very important, purchase manager will say, sir, let me explain you in detail. Now, guys, do pay attention on the statement of purchase manager. Very important, guys. So what purchase manager says, what is the duty of purchase manager? To purchase the product at competitive price. The duty of the purchase manager is to purchase the product at competitive price. So what he says, that my company instructed me to purchase X at the rate 5 and Y at the rate 4. Now, I purchased X at the rate 4 and Y at the rate 5. Again, when talking about the variance in price, the purchase manager is responsible. So the head of the material department called the purchase manager, and now we are just writing the explanation of purchase manager. What he says, that I was instructed to purchase X at the rate 5 and Y at the rate 4. And I purchased X at the rate 4 and Y at the rate 5. Now, I received the instruction from the production department that you have to purchase 700 and 300. Now, purchase manager अपने हिसाब से purchase नहीं करता. He receive a notice from the production department that you have to purchase this much of quantity. Again, purchase manager क्या करता है? Production department के instruction follow करता है. Now, once the material is in the factory, it is the responsibility of the production department to use the material. But purchase manager is not at all concerned about कितना use होना चाहिए था, कितना use हुआ. He was simply instructed to purchase this much quantity. तभी तो ये usage हुआ होगा. See, this much is the actual usage. ये usage हुआ कब होगा? When purchase manager would have purchased. And he was instructed to purchase this much of quantity, and accordingly, he purchased this much of quantity. Again, he is not at all concerned about how much quantity was supposed to be used. He is concerned about only his pricing. Purchase manager का काम क्या है? He receives instruction from the production department that you have to purchase that much. So he will purchase. His responsibility is to purchase it at the competitive price. So this pricing is important for the purchase manager. How much quantity was supposed to be used, purchase manager is not at all concerned about. ये काम purchase manager का है ही नहीं. This is the duty of the production department to effectively and efficiently use the raw material. Purchase manager का काम क्या है? To purchase at competitive price, and he will purchase the quantity only when the instructions are received from the production department. So that's why very important, I have multiplied it by 700 and 300. Why I have multiplied? because he must have received the instruction and he is following the instruction. अब वो 700 300 kgs आ गया, प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट अपने घर पे लेके जाए या they manufacture the product, he is not at all concerned about. So very simple. When talking about the explanation of purchase manager, he said that I was supposed to purchase X at the rate 5. I purchased at the rate 4, and the quantity I actually purchased is 700. So still I am contributing towards profit for the company, that is 700. When talking about why I was instructed to purchase at the rate 4, I purchased at the rate 5, and the quantity I actually purchased is 300. So here it is a loss of 300. Still, I am contributing towards the profit of company by 400. 700, there is a profit. 300, there is a loss. So net profit is 400. So purchase manager says that instead of contributing towards loss, I have contributed towards profit. So मेरे काम में कहीं कोई problem नहीं है. I'm very honest man, and my duty was to purchase at competitive price, and accordingly, I have given this much profit to the company. So here, the price part is over, and see this 400 favorable is what? It reflects the change in price element. So we call it as material price variance. That is the difference between the price set and the actual purchase price. We call it as material price variance. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. The key is this quantity. Why I have taken actual quantity? Because ये actual quantity आया कहाँ से होगा? When the purchase manager has purchased. Now, purchase manager is not at all concerned about how much quantity use होगा नहीं होगा. He is simply concerned about the price part. That is, मुझे कितने में purchase करना है और मैंने कितने में purchase किया. Anyone having any doubts or queries in the price part? So very simple, guys. How much price we were supposed to purchase? 5. How much we actually purchased? 4 into 700, that is actual quantity. Why I have actual taken actual quantity? I've already discussed. Anyone having any doubts, guys? Waiting for your queries. Riya, Ritika, Tambeshwari, Dinesh, Srinivas, Neeru, Bhavna, Ankit, Balachandran. Now, purchase manager is happy because he has contributed towards profit. Now the burden shifts to whom? The production manager. I think, see, there is an overall loss of 275, and he's saying that I didn't contribute towards loss, I contributed towards profit. It means what? इस department में कितना हुआ होगा? 675 का नुकसान हुआ होगा. This department has contributed to a loss of 675 because 675 loss and 400 profit. This is only how we will get 275 loss. So I think there is a problem with this department. So let's start with this department. Now, what the head of the material department will do? He will say, okay, wish you good luck and good job. Now, he will call now the production head. What the head of material department will do? He will call the production manager, and he says that there is an overall loss of 275. Your friend says that I have contributed towards profit. Now, please justify your statement. So now, guys, pay focus and attention to what the production head says. Now, he says that let me explain that whether I have contributed towards loss or not. Now, the production head is responsible for what? The quantity usage. The production head is responsible for what? The quantity usage. So he says that for X, I was supposed to use 525 kgs. But the quantity actually used is how much? 700 kg. Further, for Y, I was instructed to use 350 kgs only, but I used 300 kgs only. So there is a difference in quantity. The production head is responsible for this. Now we have to explain this variance in monetary terms. Now, very important, guys. If we take So to convert it into monetary terms, if we take the actual price, तो होगा क्या, इसमें जो परचेज मैनेजर ने काम किया है उसका भी इंपैक्ट आ जाएगा. So very simple guys, when the purchase department is not responsible that कितना quantity use होना चाहिए था, कितना quantity use हुआ. So similarly, production department is not at all concerned about what purchase manager did. For them, this is the price. इनफैक्ट प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट को पता ही नहीं है कि परचेज मैनेजर ने क्या किया है. परचेज मैनेजर वाज सपोज्ड टू परचेज यूनिट्स, दे गिव यूनिट्स टू द प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट. नाउ प्रोडक्शन डिपार्टमेंट इज नॉट एट ऑल कंसर्न्ड अबाउट दैट परचेज मैनेजर ने क्या प्राइस पे खरीदा. दे आर सिंपली कंसर्न्ड अबाउट दिस प्राइस दैट इज 5 and 4. दैट्स इट. They are not concerned about that purchase manager ने क्या price पे खरीदा. They are just simply concerned about the price that is given by the management, 5 and 4. So to evaluate their performance, we'll be using 5 and 4 only. Again, when talking about this variance, the production supervisor, they were supposed to use 525. They use 700. Again, here 350 they were supposed to use, they use 300. So there is a difference in quantity. So we call it as material quantity variance or material usage variance. That is, कितना raw material use होना चाहिए था, कितना raw material use हुआ. We call it as material usage variance. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can post your queries. In calculating price variance, we will use the actual quantity. Very important, because कितना quantity use होना चाहिए था, कितना quantity use हुआ, that is not the job of purchase manager. His job is just to purchase at competitive price. Plus, his performance will be evaluated on the basis of quantity actually purchased. अब वो use हुआ, stock में रहा, they are not at all concerned about. Mallu, I think till now, I've got your first message only, Mallu. Anyone having any doubts or queries, guys? Everyone, again, don't try to memorize the formula. Just think conceptually. Very simple, guys. For 700 units, how much we were supposed to spend? 4,025. How much we actually spent? 4,300. How much extra we spent? 275. It is adverse for the company because the extra cost. So we call it as material cost variance. Now, this cost variance can be due to either there is change in quantity or price. If it is due to change in price, we calculate material price variance. Price variance, very simple. Price में variance है. So 5 price होना चाहिए था, 4 हुआ. Into actual quantity, because actual quantity लेंगे, because purchase manager has actually purchased 700 and 300 units. When talking about usage variance also, the quantity we were supposed to use is 525. The quantity we actually used is 700. How much extra we use? 175 kgs extra into the standard price. Why I have taken standard price? Because purchase manager ने क्या किया, the production department is not at all concerned about. Mallu, why we have prepared revised standard? Very important. These two figures are not comparable. This data is given for 80 units of output and this data is given for 700 units of output. It is 700 favorable and it is 300 adverse. So that's why 700 minus 300 net favorable, it is 400. So now ultimately, who is the person responsible for this loss of 275? The purchase manager or production manager? Waiting for your answers, guys. Who is the person responsible for this loss of 275? The purchase manager or the production manager? So guys, what do you suggest? Should we remove the purchase manager from the job? Because in my company, I think he has made a loss of 675. So we should remove it or not? Now see, no, you should not. So guys, see, this production manager is a senior guy. He is not involved in day-to-day activity. He has to manage many people. He's just supervising the work done by the people under him. So now the head of the material department is well aware about that there is some problem in with the production manager, but he can't fire production manager because he's just a senior guy and he supervised the work done by his junior. So now what head of material department will say, see, there is problem with your department, so submit the detailed report. So now he is well aware about that his department has made a loss of 675. Not what he will do. He will call his junior that how you guys have performed, that there is a loss of 675 in my department. So very important, guys. Very good, Nancy. Very good, Ankit. Now what he will do is he will again call his two juniors. The first one is the engineer and second one is the production supervisor. He will call the engineer and the production supervisor. So first he calls the engineer. Now very important, guys, please focus on the explanation of the engineer. See, there is an overall usage difference. The quantity we were supposed to use is 875. The quantity we actually used is 1000. Herein also, individually also in X and Y, there is a difference. Now, this difference is either due to excessive usage of raw material or due to change in mix. Either it may be due to overall excessive usage or it may be due to change in mix. So he calls the engineer who is responsible for maintaining the mix. Let's take a very basic example. Suppose your mom advised you to prepare a cup of tea. She advised that 60% should be milk and 40% should be water. She advised you that 60% should be milk and 40% is the water. But what you did, you added 70% of milk and 30% of water. Anyways, the cost of the tea goes up because the usage of milk is more. So herein also, when talking about this company also, so the engineer was instructed that whatever the raw material you are using X and Y, it should be in the ratio of 60:40. कंपनी क्या बोलती है इंजीनियर को, इंजीनियर इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर मिक्सिंग, इंजीनियर इज रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर मिक्सिंग. जैसे आपकी मॉम ने बोला 60:40 रेशियो होना चाहिए था, आपने 70:30 रेशियो कर दिया. सो योर मॉम says that, okay, what the blunder you have did, you have increased the cost of cup of tea. So herein also, you were supposed to use X and Y in the ratio of 60:40 because the engineer is responsible for mixing. In every industry, if a product is manufactured using 2 to 3 kinds of raw material, the mixing is important. When talking about shirt also, see, when they say it is 100% cotton, it's not 100% cotton, it is 95 to 98% cotton, and some percentage there is polyester, some percentage there is nylon, some percentage there is wool also. So the point is mixing is important. So the company advised that whatever the raw material you are using, it should be in the ratio of 60:40. But actual mix was how much? 70:30. So this overall usage difference, yes, it is due to some percentage, it is due to change in mix. So herein, my actual usage of raw material is how much? 1000. It should be in the ratio of 60:40. ये जो actual raw material हमने कितना यूज किया है 1000, it should be in the ratio of how much? 60:30. 1000 in the ratio of, sorry, 60:40. So 1000 should be in the ratio of 60:40. That is 600:400. But the actual mix of 1000 is what? 70:30. So the work of engineer is what? To maintain the mix. सो हमें क्या मिक्स सजेस्ट किया था? 60:40, दैट इज 600:400. My actual mix was what? 70:30, that is 700:300. Further, again, since they are the juniors of production department, they are not concerned about the actual price. They are concerned about only the standard price, that is 5 and 4. So herein there is a loss of 500 and herein there is a profit of 400. So ultimately there is a loss of 100. Anyone having any doubts in this part? So herein, when talking about engineer, very important, he is responsible to maintain the mix. So there is an overall increase in usage of raw material. The first factor is the first person who is responsible is what? The engineer, जिसने mix change कर दिया. So this variance we have calculated, it shows the deviation in mix. So we call it as material mix variance. Anyone having any doubts or queries in this part? How come I have calculated 600, 400? Very simple, guys. 1000 should be in the ratio of 60:40. So this will be 600, this will be 400. We call it a standard mix. Anyone having any doubts or queries? Waiting for your queries, guys. Yash, Srinivas, Kasak, Bhumika, Anuradha, Neeru, Nayan, Tambeshwari. Tambeshwari, any doubts? Hardik, any doubts? No, it's not so large. I'm just explaining everything in detail. While solving question, you'll find it very easy. I'm just explaining the concepts. That's it. If you'll try to memorize the formulas, you can solve the question using a, agar question straight away aaya hai, you can apply formulas. But if the question is a bit tricky, formulas won't work. So that's why I'm teaching you guys the concepts. Good, Nitin. So I hope, Tambeshwari, you are clear till now. Yes, Ankit, Nancy, Sai Kiran Kumar, Balachandran, any doubts, guys? So now the engineer work is over. And yes, of this loss of 675, he is contributing only 100. Now, ultimately, who is the culprit? The production supervisor. Because see, there is a loss of 675. The loss due to engineer is only 100. So remaining loss of 575 is what? Due to production supervisor, जो ultimately units manufacture करता है, who is actually raw material जिसके hands में होता है, who put into the final production process and get the output. So he is the production supervisor. Either उसने क्या किया होगा, या तो वो raw material चोरी किया होगा, or there is a lots and lots of wastage of raw material. That's why there is a loss of 575. Why 575? See, 675 is the total loss in production. Of this, 100 is due to engineer. So 575 it is due to the production supervisor. So here we calculate material yield variance. Now there are 2 to 3 ways to calculate material yield variance. To avoid confusion, I'll be discussing only one method, and that too also the easiest method. When talking about the production supervisor, uska kaam kya hai? He should use the raw material properly. Now see, these 700 units is my actual output. We should have got this output from 875 kgs. Ultimately, what I'm saying is these 700 units should be manufactured using 875 kgs only. But to manufacture these 700 units, how much quantity we actually used? 1000 kgs. How much extra we used? 125 kgs. जो काम 875 kgs में हो जाना चाहिए था, जो काम 875 kgs में हो जाना चाहिए था, हाउ मच क्वांटिटी वी एक्चुअली यूज्ड 1000 kgs. So how much extra we used? 125 kgs. Now these 125 kgs can be of X also, Y also. Now the point is which price we should take, either 5 or 4 or the average price. So the best approach is we should use the weighted average price, because the quantity is also changing, the price is also different. So herein we will be taking the standard price, but the question is we should take 5, 4 or 4.5 or the weighted average. So the best approach is weighted average, that is 525 into 5, 350 into 4. So the total 4025 is the cost for 875. So how much will be the cost of 125 kgs? 575 extra. It is adjusted. If you guys have any doubts in this calculation, you guys can please post your queries. I repeat again, when talking about the last, that is material yield variance, the production supervisor is responsible, because ultimately raw material uske haath mein hi rehta hai. Ultimately, the raw material is in the hand of the production supervisor. So his duty is what? To use each and every kg of raw material in such a way so that we can get the maximum benefit. So herein, there is an excessive usage of raw material, or we can say there is a wastage of raw material that has resulted in an overall loss of material department. Nayan Patel, why you want to learn the formulas when I'm teaching the concepts? Let me sum up, then only you will be able to prepare formulas on your own. Anyone with any doubts or queries, or it's bouncer for you guys? It's not tricky, it's just follow the concepts. Yes, everyone. Yes, Sai Kiran, Tambeshwari, anyone? So here in very simple guys, ये 700 units जो है कितने raw material में बनना चाहिए था? 875 kgs. But to manufacture these 700 units, how much raw material we actually used? 1000. How much extra we used? 125 kgs. It means there is a wastage of 125 kgs, or there is a loss of 125 kgs. Now these 125 kgs can be of X also, it can be of Y also. So the point is, kiska price le? 5 le, 4 le, average price le? No, the best approach is use weighted average price. So weighted average price 525 into 5, 350 into 4, total 4025 divided by 875. This is how I got this 575. This is 4025, this is 875. I'll be putting up questions in front of you guys. So whatever the queries you have, you guys can please told me, you guys can please post it. Yes, well said, Nitin. I'll be I'll be just summing up everything so that you guys will be, you guys will have better idea. But till now, if you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post. Then I'll just draw the conclusion, and then I'll teach you how the formulas are prepared. So till now, if you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Tambeshwari, very important. Now I'll be just summing up what I have discussed till now. Then you'll find that, okay, sir, it's very easy. But since I have discussed the concepts in detail, so I know it was a bit tiring. But trust me, guys, now when I'll sum up, you will say, okay, sir, it is very easy. Okay, Ritika Gupta, see, 700 is my final output. These 700 units, 1 second. Admin, sir, are you there? Admin, sir, are you there? और रितिका गुप्ता को आप अनम्यूट कर देंगे? अनम्यूट. हाय रितिका.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Very good morning, my dear. Tell me, what's your question?
So that 125 part, I am
Okay, see, Ritika,
little
what is my
yes.
actual production,
Actual production is 700.
right? Now, kitna
Yes,
raw
sir.
material use karna chahiye tha for manufacturing these 700 units? How much quantity in
875.
aggregate we were supposed to use?
875.
But to manufacture these 700 units, how much quantity we actually used?
1000.
1000. How much extra we used?
Extra is 125, sir.
I hope it is clear now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So ultimately, there is a loss of 125 kgs.
Okay, sir. Thanks,
Yes.
sir.
Anyone else? Kasak Yadav, this is the best approach. See, here in Hardik, we have taken the loss also. See, ultimately, we were expecting a loss of how much? 175. We were expecting a loss of how much? 175. But my actual loss is how much? 300. 125 extra. That abnormal loss is what we call as material yield variance. In this question specifically, anyone else with any doubts? Neeru, any doubts? Tambeshwari, Nayan Patil. So let's sum up what we have discussed till now. Now, after the conclusion, you will say that okay, this is easy. So see, guys, very simple, quick. So, guys, now very simple, guys. The management has given a target to the material department that for every 80 units, this should be the data. 60 kgs of X, 40 kgs of Y, total input will be 100, 20 will be the normal loss. This is how we will get an output of 80. This was the target given by the management. But when the actual results were out, this happened. Actually, we manufactured 700 units. Now, the first question is we have to calculate the variances. So the question is, are these two figures comparable? No, ये compare कर ही नहीं सकते because the output is not same. This data is given for 80 units of output. This data is given for 700 units of output. Since the output is not same, so we have to make it comparable. So we prepared revised standard. That is, ये जो 80 का डेटा है इसको हमको 700 पे लेके आना है. So very simple. For this, 60 kgs for 80 outputs, for 700 output, how much? 525. 40 kgs for 80 units of output, for 700 kgs of output, 350. So, to manufacture these 700 units, we should have used 525 kgs of X at the rate 5 and 350 kgs of Y at the rate 4. So, for these 700 units, cost kitna hona chahiye tha? 4025. But for these 700 units, how much is my actual cost? 4,300. Matlab, in short, our cost is 275 more than what we expected. So we call it as material cost variance. Our cost is 275 more than what we expected. That is 4,025 minus 4,300. So 275 extra we spent, we call it as material cost variance because ये क्या है? Overall material की cost में difference है. So we can say alternatively, instead of writing it directly, we can write it like this. 525 kgs use hona chahiye tha at the rate 5. 700 kgs we actually used at the rate 4. So 175 extra. Similarly, 350 kgs we were supposed to use at the rate 4. But we used 300 kgs at the rate 5. So extra cost is how much? 100. So this is an overall loss of 275. Now the head of material department is well aware about कि भाई मेरे department में loss हुआ है. Now two factors are responsible. See, the price factor and the quantity factor. When talking about price factor, purchase manager responsible है. Purchase manager का duty क्या है? To purchase at competitive price. So what purchase manager says? I was supposed to purchase X at the rate 5. I purchased at the rate 4. Now My performance will be evaluated on the basis of quantity I actually purchased. I am not at all concerned about how much quantity they are using. My performance will be evaluated on the basis of quantity I purchased. And I purchased 700 and 300. So 700 and 300. This is how we got 400 favorable. Now see, when talking about the next part, that is the quantity uses, कितना यूज होना चाहिए था, कितना यूज हुआ. Who is responsible? The production manager. So for X, how much quantity we were supposed to use? 525. How much we actually used? 700. Now, I will be taking the standard price because what actual price represents the work done by the purchase manager. Since we are independently evaluating everybody's performance, everyone's performance, we are individually just evaluating everybody's performance. So we will not be taking the actual price, we will be taking the standard price. So 525 we were supposed to use, 700 we actually used into 5, 350 we were supposed to use, 300 we actually used into 4. So now there is a loss in production department. Now this guy is a big man. He's at the senior post. He supervises the people. So what he will do is he will call his two subordinates. The major two subordinates are what? The engineer who is responsible for mixing. And ultimately the last person is production supervisor who is responsible for the actual production. So when talking about the work that is done by the engineer, it talks about mixing. That is mix change nahi hona chahiye. So very simple, we were advised a mix of 60-40. अगर X 60 use होगा तो Y 40 होगा. Now very important, my actual inputs are how much? 1000. They should be in the ratio of 60:40. That is 600:400. But my actual mix is 700:300 into the standard price. And last, yield variances. Yield variance, very simple. 700 units. How much quantity aggregate we should have used? 875. How much we actually used? 1000. 125 kgs extra into the weighted average price. So this is all what about the details of material variance. One more point, guys, very important. Mix and yield will be what? Usage. See, 100 adverse, 575 adverse, this will be 675 adverse. So mix and yield will be what? Usage. Usage and price will be what? Cost. If you guys have any doubts or queries, you guys can please post. Yes, you can, Srinivas. Yes, we can say Hardik. So now, guys, very simple. Ultimately, there is a loss in material department. So my first question, who should be rewarded? The purchase manager, the production manager, the engineer, or the supervisor? Who should be rewarded for his work? $125 into 4025 divided by 875, you will get 575. Yes, Manvi, who should be rewarded for his work? And who should be removed from the job? Next question, who should be removed from the job? Pranav, production manager, cannot be removed. He is the senior most person who is responsible for the production, who is responsible or who is in charge of the production department. Who should be removed from the job? This guy is the culprit because he is responsible for excessive wastage, or we can say theft of material or spoilage of material. This guy should be removed from the job. This guy should be rewarded for his work. See, somehow, somewhere, this guy can excuse himself that, sir, okay, you told me to keep the mix 60-40. For the betterment of product, I made it 70-30. Somehow, somewhere, this guy can give excuse, but this guy, no excuse possible, because straight away, there is an excessive usage of raw material. We can say either that is a wastage or it is a theft or whatever it is. So, I hope this part is clear to all. No, dear. Overall, there is a loss of 275 and he's making a loss of 575. No, Hardik, this much is the story. There is, see here, and when talking about the work of purchase manager, it's very simple that they have to purchase at a competitive price. But in talking about the production part, two factors are responsible: the ultimate production supervisor and the mix also. That's why there are no further divisions of this. Dinesh Kumar sir, how you calculated material yield variance? Dinesh explaining it for you again. Okay, 1 second. Admin sir, please unmute Dinesh Kumar. I think still he's facing problem in yield variance. See guys, I'm not going to take that much of time in labor. So labor variances. So the investigation of material and labor department is almost same. So whatever the queries you have, whatever the questions running in your mind, you guys can please post your questions. So sir, can you please unmute Dinesh Kumar? Admin sir. Yes, Dinesh Kumar. Yes, Mr. Dinesh.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my dear. Tell me.
Sir, actually, I've understood all the other calculations, but I'm been finding difficulty in this production supervisor thing.
Problem क्या आ रहा है आप मुझे ये बताइए.
It's like how did we calculated that 125 kgs and 425
Okay.
4025?
Very simple, my dear. See, Dinesh, just tell me, just answer a few questions. How much is my actual production?
Your actual production is 700, sir.
Now, these 700 units should be manufactured in how much quantity of raw material? How much quantity we should have actually used to manufacture 700 units?
Around 875, sir.
So the work should be done in 875 kgs, right?
Yes, sir.
But how much quantity we actually used?
1000, sir.
So how much extra kgs we used?
Around
875 minus 1000, right?
Yes, sir.
875 minus. So how much extra kgs we use? 125.
125.
Now these 125 kgs can be of X also and Y also, right?
Yes, sir.
So the best approach is that which price we should take, weighted average price. That is 525 into 5, 350 into 4. So the total weighted average price will be 4025 divided by 875.
Okay, sir.
See, ultimately, we have to explain or express every variance in monetary terms. अब the point is 125 kgs हमें मिल गया है, but we have to convert it into monetary term using standard price. Now the question is 125 kgs can be of X also and Y also. Quantity may differ. So that's why I have taken weighted average price.
Okay, sir.
I hope it is clear now.
Yes, sir, sure.
See, there are many more ways also to calculate yield variance, but I find it easy. That's why I have discussed in this way.
Okay, sir.
Right? Clear? Crystal clear
Yes,
now?
Yes, sir, I'm sure. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Great. Anyone else? Kambeshwari, any doubts? Srinivas, Hardik? Balachandran, I have already explained it in detail. So now what we can see is, see, there was a question from Dinesh Kumar or Hardik Marwa that, sir, what's the use of standard costing? So as I said, that it's a part of management accounting. It has nothing to do with cost calculation. It assists management in decision making. Now, when the actual results were out, we calculated these variances. Okay. When the actual results were out, we calculated these variances to figure out that why we made this loss of 1,50,000. Now, so as I said, this standard costing technique helps us to calculate the variance, and also it helps us to figure out that who all are responsible for this variance. So ultimately, the purchase manager, the production manager, the engineer, the production supervisor. So we do calculate the variance and then we take corrective action ki kahan pe problem hai. So here we have the detailed report of material department. Now we can easily locate that here it is the problem. See, everything is okay with purchase department. Yes, there are some problem in production department. And when talking about the production department, the major culprit is what? The production supervisor. So this standard costing technique help us to locate that where is the problem in the system. System में problem कहाँ पे है? Accordingly, management can take a corrective action. See, let's say if you are sick, if you are sick, there is problem in your system, you are sick. So what you will do, you will go to the doctor. What doctor will say? That get the blood report done. So after getting the blood report, the doctor will be able to locate the problem, that this is the problem, and accordingly he will give you medicine. So again, just like your blood report, this is the detailed report of the company's material department, wherein they will figure out that here is the problem, and accordingly management will give medicine accordingly. So this is just like a diagnostic report of the company. That is the detailed report to figure out that kahan pe sahi hai aur kahan pe gadbad hai, and accordingly the management will take corrective action, just like the doctor. Now, when talking about the formulas, see now, as of now, I think there is no need to memorize the formula. Still, I'm writing this for your reference. See how I calculated the material cost variance. That is the standard cost minus actual cost. How come this 4025? Very simple. 525 होना चाहिए था 5 की रेट पे. That is standard quantity at standard price. But what happened? Actual quantity and actual price. So this is the formula for material cost variance. 525 into 5 minus 700 into 4. That is standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. When talking about price variance, purchase manager का काम again. क्या प्राइस पे परचेज करना चाहिए था? स्टैंडर्ड प्राइस. At what price I actually purchased? Actual price into actual quantity. Similarly, when talking about usage also, how much quantity we were supposed to use? 525. How much quantity we actually used? 700 into our standard price. So standard quantity minus actual quantity into standard price. When talking about engineer, we should be in a mix of 600 is to 400. We call it as standard mix. My actual mix was 700, 300. We call it as actual quantity into standard price. When talking about yield, there is a formula that is given. I'm writing here. Standard quantity minus standard mix into standard price. As I said, there are many other ways to calculate yield. So there is a way wherein you can memorize and you can solve the question. So again, no need to memorize the formulas. आप formula खुद से बना सकते हैं. When talking about price variance, very simple guys. क्या price होना चाहिए था? Standard price. क्या price हुआ? Actual price into actual quantity, because my performance will be evaluated on the basis of quantity I actually purchased. So I request you guys, instead of memorizing the formula, see, I have put up enough of efforts to make you guys understand that what are the concepts. So don't try to memorize the formula. Question agar straight aaya, yes, you can apply formulas. But if the question is bit on the trickier side, trust me guys, the formulas are not going to work. Now the concepts will come into picture. I understand for 3 to 4 times, once you will solve 3 to 4 questions using concept, you'll find it bit difficult. But trust me, after this hard work of 3 to 4 questions, I assure you, you will be able to solve any questions without hesitation or without any problem. Anyone having any doubts or queries, guys? No. So Dinesh, I think you only raised a query at the initial stage, or I think Hardik only. So Dinesh Kumar raised a query, sir, does the standard costing only help in finding the differences between the expected and actual results, or it also help the problem caused due to adverse scenarios, sir? So I hope, Dinesh, it is clear. It's just like a diagnostic report of the company wherein it helps the management to locate that where actually the problem exists. Preeti, this is the estimated data and this is the actual data. Mallu, I don't know. Please, you can post. Just now I got that, sir. मेरा question ही नहीं आ रहा है. So now I request, I'm giving you 10 minutes time to copy this explanation. Whatever the queries you have, you guys can please post, and further giving you 5 to 7 minutes time. First of all, copy the explanation and do write your comments. Very important, guys. Do write your comments. And further, I advise you not to memorize the formula. Try to memorize the concepts. So very simple, guys. I'll refresh it. When talking about cost variance, the standard cost minus actual cost. When talking about price, standard price minus actual price into actual quantity. When talking about usage, standard usage minus actual usage into standard price, and then mix and yield. Further, mix and yield will be usage and price will be cost. So material mix variance plus yield variance will be usage variance, usage plus price will be cost. So for favorable, it will be F, and for adverse, it will be A. For which part you are asking, Sai Kiran Kumar? Which part, Sai Kiran Kumar? This is standard quantity minus standard mix into standard price, my dear. Now, very important, guys, I'll be solving all the question using this format only. So see, in study material, they have followed few different ways to solve the question. But yes, I'll be uniformly following this format only for all the question. In study material, few question has been solved using this format. But for the other question, they have used some different approach. But this is the standard procedure I'll be following in all the questions of material cost variance. So giving you last 3 to 4 minutes time, whatever the queries you have, whatever running in your mind. Again, I repeat, I request you guys, those who are just checking my lecture or who are over Zoom, whatever running in your mind, do post it. The more you will ask, the better you will be in your concepts. I just want you guys to be thorough with the concept that exam के दिन ना आप SQ, SP, AQ, AP में बस दिमाग नहीं खराब करें. Just focus on the concept. Initially, it will be difficult, 3 to 4 questions. Trust me, after 3 to 4 questions, you will feel that okay, now you are thorough with standard costing. काफी स्टूडेंट्स ये चैप्टर ऑप्शन में भी छोड़ देते हैं. So don't leave it in option. It's a bonus marks for you. Admin sir, please unmute Tambeshwari. Admin sir, are you there? Please unmute Tambeshwari. Yes, Tambeshwari.
सर जैसे हम अभी हमें लॉस हुआ है तो हमने इसको मतलब कि सबका लॉस देखा है कि जो मैनेजर है, सुपरवाइजर है प्रोडक्शन का, तो उसका ज्यादा हुआ। वैसे ही सर अगर मैं प्रॉफिट हुआ होता तो हम सबके रिवॉर्ड के अनुसार भी हम ऐसे ही चेक करते।
रिवॉर्ड लॉस कुछ नहीं है यार. Keep the things very simple, Tambeshwari. If it is a loss to the company, we write it adverse. See, whether it is profit or loss, we have to calculate these variance. If the question, see, if this is the question where in budget and actual, see, when talking about the question, आपको question कैसे आएगा budget and actual? So ultimately, the question will ask you to calculate the variance. So you have to calculate all the variance, whether it is profit, whether it is loss. In all the cases, you have to calculate the variances.
It means sir all the process are to be same, is to be
It
favorable
will
and
be
adverse.
same for every question. हर question के लिए process same होगा.
Okay sir, thank you sir.
Okay. Be it profit. See, I have explained it in a very practical way. मैंने आपको एक practical approach बताया कि actually this is what it happens. So ये एक story बनाया है मैंने to make you guys understand it in a better way. That's what it is. All the chapters are important, Ritika, and all the chapters are compulsory. No need to skip any chapter. मल्लू अगेन आप ना वर्ड्स में घूम रहे. अगेन सी, just take it as a fresh session for standard costing. Just feel like you don't know anything about standard costing and pay attention to what I'm discussing. Then only you can understand. If you have studied somewhere, then I think you will find it a bit confusing. That I will discuss in the last session, Ritika. Those who want to copy, last 2 minutes for you. I think there are 4 sessions, Nayan. Nayan, so a question from my side, you will be just going through formulas or solving the question using concept. Nayan, specifically because again and again, you are just pointing out that, sir, write the formulas. Still, I say, Nayan, don't go with formulas. Try to memorize the concept. This is my personal suggestion to you. I'll be solving 1 or 2 questions. So I assure you, after solving 1 or 2 questions, you'll be thorough with the concepts. So fine. Let's take 15 minutes break. In this break, I just want you guys to refresh what I have discussed, so that once we are solving some questions, you guys will be able to understand that what sir is doing. So let's take a break of 15 minutes. I'll be back after 15 minutes with one question on standard costing, and then I'll give you guys few questions to solve in the live session. So let's take a break. Admin sir, are you there? Huh? Sir? Okay. Welcome back, guys. So I hope you guys are thorough with what I have discussed till now. Now let's discuss one practical question from study material for better understanding. I request you guys to please open your study material. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'm discussing illustration number 3, guys. I request you guys to please open your study material. I'm discussing illustration number 3. Page number is 13.19. So the standard cost of a chemical mixture is as follows, wherein 40% of material A at the rate 20, 60% of material B at the rate 30. The standard loss is 10% of input is expected in production. The cost records for the period show the following usage, wherein 90 kgs for A, 110 kgs for B, and the cost per kg is given. The quantity produced was 182 kgs of good product. So the output is given. Calculate material cost, price, and usage variance. So illustration number 3. So budgeted data is given. Wherein 2 types of raw material. So if it is 40 of A, then it will be 60 of B. 100 will be my input. My normal loss will be 10%. So 10 will be my normal loss and 90 will be my output. When talking about the price, it is given 20 and 30 per kg. So 20 and 30. So this is the budgeted data. Now the actual data. Actually, it is given that 90 kgs of A, 110 kgs of B. Total, it will be 200 and my final output is only 182. That is 18 is the normal loss. When talking about the price, it is 18 and 34. So my first question to you guys, are these two figures comparable? Yes or no? Very good, Rati Malini. So in material, what is the basis of comparison? Waiting for your answers. Quick, guys. Are these two figures comparable or not? Yes or no? And second point, if not, then what is the basis of comparison? Very good, everyone. Yes, Ankit, this concept applies to all the manufacturing companies. Very good, everyone. So these two figures are not comparable. Why? Because their output is not same. So we have to prepare revised standard. So for 40, it is 90. For 182, how much? 40, it is for 80. Sorry, 40, it is for 90. So for 182, how much? Similarly, for 60, it is 90. So for 182, how much? If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your query. Anyone with any doubts or queries, guys, till now? We are done with the master chart. Our master chart is ready. Anyone having any doubts in this part? Yes, you can. Both the approaches are correct, Hardik. So first thing, very simple, guys. Material cost variance. What will be my material cost variance? 5258 minus 5360. So this will be 102 adverse. Alternatively, you can calculate it like standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. Similarly, for Y also 121.33 standard quantity into standard price minus actual quantity into actual price. The total we will get is 102 adverse. So standard quantity, standard price, actual quantity, actual price. Next is what? Here it represents the work done by purchase manager, that is material price variance. So very simple, guys. क्या price पे purchase करना चाहिए था? Very simple. 20. We purchased it for how much? 18 into actual quantity. So this will be 180 favorable. Similarly, here also 30 we were supposed to purchase. We actually purchased for 34 into 110. So 4 rupees extra into 110, this will be 440 adverse. So this will be 260 adverse. 260 adverse. Very good, guys. Very good, Bhavna. Very good, Ratimalini. Very good, Neeru. Very good, everyone. Now the next part. मटेरियल यूजेज वेरिएंस, कितना यूज होना चाहिए था, कितना यूज हुआ. So how much quantity we were supposed to use? 80.88. How much we actually used? 90 into my standard price, that is 20. Similarly for Y also, how much quantity we were supposed to use? 121.33. How much quantity we actually used? 110 into my standard price. Now Y standard price I have already discussed. Very good, everyone. If you guys have any doubts till now, you guys can please post your queries. Anyone with any doubts or queries, guys? Waiting for your queries. Okay, now a question from my side. What will be the mix and yield variance? I have a doubt now, Tambeshwari. Rati Malini, Hardik, everyone. What will be the mix variance and yield variance now? This is the classwork for you. You can write MMV and so waiting for these two answers. Bhavna Garg, sir, एक बार please explain standard quantity. So Bhavna, very simple. The output, these two figures are not comparable. Why? Because their output is not same. The budgeted output is 90. The actual output is 182. So we are converting it into revised standard. So we first calculate standard quantity. Why we calculate? Because this quantity is for 90 output and this quantity is for 182 output. So we have to convert this 90 data into 182. So when talking about standard quantity of A, 40 is used for 90 kgs. 40 kgs for 90 output. So for 182 output, how much? 80.88. For B also 60 for 90 output. So for 182 output, how much? So I have got answer from Bala, Chandra, Pranav. Rest all waiting for your answers, guys. I've received answers from only two students, Bala Chandran and Pranav. And again, your answers are also not matching. So I've got answer from Ritika giving you 5 minutes time. Not actually, this work should be done by in max to max 2 to 3 minutes, but still giving you 5 minutes. What will be the mix and yield variance? Quick, waiting for your answers. So mix variance, I think Nitin Prajapati, Pranav, your answers are matching. I don't know, Ritika. This is a question from my end, not from you. So waiting for your answers. I've got answer from Balachandran, Bhavna Garg. So material mix variance and material yield variance. So I've got 300 adverse and 52 point. One, I have got this answer. I have got 100 as material mix variance also. Sorry, 100 favorable. This answer also I got. $57.46. Rest all okay, 158. Anyone else with answers? Apurva, 300 favorable and 200 adverse. $200 adverse and 330 favorable. So many answers of one question. Still, I have not received the answer from many of you. Mallu, waiting for your answer. Bhumika, Dinesh Kumar, waiting for your answers. Nayan Patil, waiting for your answer. Yasleen, Yashashwini, Srinivas. I've got answer from Balachandran now. Ritika Gupta, 200 and 339.9. So many answers, guys. Yes, Ankit, Nancy, Kiran Kumar, waiting for your answers, guys. Quick. I've got answer from Kasak Yadav also. Anyways, so let's start with the solution. When talking about mix, my actual input is 200. This should be in the ratio of 40:60. So my 200, that is actual input, should be in the ratio of what? 40:60. So 200 in the ratio of 40:60 means what? 80 and 120. So this should be 80 and this should be 120. Minus my actual mix was 90 and 110. Into my standard price, that is 20 and 30. So this will be 200 adverse and this will be 300 favorable. So 100 favorable is the correct answer, and I think many students posted this answer 100 favorable. Very good, Manvi. It is correct. Ritika Gupta, please check your answer. Very good, Malu. Now see, when talking about yield, see, you can say 158 favorable and this is 100 favorable. So this will be 58 favorable. The balancing figure can also be yield variance. Now the question is how to calculate. So these 182 units should be manufactured in 202.21 kgs. But the work was completed in 200 kgs only. Into the weighted average rate, that is 5258 divided by 202.21. So this will be 58 favorable. Round figure 58 favorable. So those who are getting some different answer, please check. 57.46 is correct. 57.46, 57.68, everything is correct, guys. And very good. I think many students posted the correct answer. Yes, Nitin. There are many students who posted correct answer. I request you guys to copy the solution again. The solution in study material is a bit different. The way of solving is a bit different. My way of solving is a bit different. So I request you guys to copy this explanation at least. See, Bhavna, there are two things. First one is standard quantity and second one is standard mix. When talking about calculating standard quantity, we have to consider the output. And for standard mix, we have to consider input. Why? I have already discussed this part in detail. Which part you are finding difficult, Rati Malini? Yes, you can solve it in this part, this way also, Preeti. Material yield variance, very simple. 182 units in how much quantity it should be completed? 202.21. But it was completed in 200 kgs. So there is a saving of 2.21 kgs into the weighted average rate. That is 5258 divided by 202.21. Very good, Nancy. Your answers were correct. I've taken 202.21, my dear. Rati Malini, hopefully this part is clear. I request you guys to copy this part at least. See, at the end of the day, Hardik, keep the thing simple, my dear. Mix plus yield is usage. Usage plus price is cost. Keep the thing simple, यार. कुछ भी होता है थोड़ा बहुत आप बैलेंसिंग फिगर एडजस्ट कर लीजिए. Ultimately, I repeat, mix plus yield will be usage. Usage plus price will be cost. आप जैसे भी सॉल्व करेंगे चलेगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. बट स्टिल बेस्ट इज व्हाट? Material cost variance, formula and solution. Price variance, formula and solution. Now the point is, no need to memorize when you can frame the formulas. Formula memorize mat kijiye. Try to frame the formula ki ye formula bana kaise hai. So now you guys are thorough with, you can make your own formulas. So why to memorize the formula? But yes, while writing exam, material cost variance, the formula and the final answer. That's it. I hope, Mallu, it is clear now. Yes, yeah, usage minus. If you subtract mix from usage, you will get yield. So all the approaches are correct. At the end of the day, it's a simple equation. Mix plus yield is usage. So usage minus yield will be mix. You can do anything. It is advisable to write the formula first. Why? To give any opportunity to examiner to deduct marks. कोई chance ही मत दीजिए examiner को कि that he will deduct marks. See, at the end of the day, the final answer, the calculation is important, but why to take chances? That's what it is. And when you're thorough with the concept, you can frame your own formulas. That's what it is, Pranav. Now a question for you. Following data is given. Following budgeted data is given for manufacturing one unit of product C218. There is a product name C218 and following data is given for manufacturing one unit. Two raw materials are used. My question is that this is the data given. Following data is given for one unit for manufacturing one unit of product C218, wherein the quantity of A and B is 200 and 300, and the input is total 500. Similarly, in the month of April 2024, 300 units were manufactured, and the quantity is given, that is 58,000 and 96,000. You are required to calculate material cost variance in classwork. What will be my material cost variance? So first you have to post standard quantity. So this is the way you have to post answer for A and B, standard quantity, and then material cost variance. Waiting for your answers, guys. Yes, you can, Anuradha. Waiting for your answers. What will be the standard quantity of A and B? And second thing, what will be the material cost variance? This is the question for you guys. Waiting for your answers. So I have got answer from Pranav. Let me check your answer is correct or not. I have got answer from Bhavna also. Okay, so I've got answer from Sanya. Rest all, where are you guys? Waiting for your answers. Hardik, I've received your answer now. So very good, Nayan. Very good, Kasak. Let me check. Ritika Gupta. So I'm getting two answers. I think most of the students answered 61,600 and 92,400. 61,600 and 92,400. And there are few students who posted 60,000 and 90,000. Any different answer apart from this? What say, guys? Which one is correct? I've got only two answers. So 61,600, 92,400. 61,600, 92,400. What say, guys? Still, there are many students who has not posted their answers. Waiting for your answers, guys. Again, I request you guys to actively participate in the session. The more you will ask, the better you will be with the concept. So that's okay, but whether it be it right or wrong, just do post your answers. So 60 and 90. 61,600, 92,400. Any other answers? I'm not sure both the answers are correct or whatever it is. Just waiting for everyone to solve this. Okay, so 69,600, a new answer. So guys, the question is very simple. Bhaskar Das, 61,600, 92,400. Mallu Jadar, 61,600, 92,400. So guys, now do pay attention, please. Now stop writing, stop solving. It's enough now. Very simple, guys. The budgeted data is given for how many units of output? I repeat, guys, the budgeted data is given for how many units of output? 1 unit. Actual data is given for how many units of output? 300. So my first question, are these two figures comparable? No, we have to make it comparable. So very simple, guys. For A, 1 unit, 200 kgs. So for 300 units, how much kgs? Very simple, 60,000. So 60,000 is the correct answer. Guys, again, half of the work is done when you read the question carefully. I have clearly mentioned that this data is given for 1 unit. So what will be the data for 300 units? Again, just don't think that you are solving a practical question. Just assume that it's a practical situation wherein 1 unit requires 200 kgs. So for 300, how many kgs? Very simple, 60,000. And similarly for B, it will be 90,000. So the correct answer is 60,000 and 90,000. And few students, yes, they answered 60,000 and 90,000. So Sarthak, Mallu, I think Bhaskar, Preeti, where you guys went wrong? Neeru, Ritika, Kasak Yadav, you guys were wrong. Hardik, Bhavnagar, Pranav. What went wrong? My question was very simple, that you have to calculate standard quantity. और कुछ दिमाग ही नहीं लगाना था. Very simple. Standard quantity, the basis of comparison is what? Output. I'm surprised many students posted this answer 61,600 and 92,400. That's why I say don't rush for the solution. Read the question, understand the question. Question क्या पूछ रहा है, and accordingly start writing the answer. So very simple, when talking about standard quantity, what is the basis of comparison? Output. I hope this part is clear to all. So once you calculate standard quantity, you can solve the question very easily. You have to prepare master chart and solve the question. So enough of concept on material. I'll be discussing one or two more questions in the coming session. I hope you guys are thorough with the concept of material variances. If you guys have any doubts, you guys can please post your queries. It's already 9:33. So anyone having any doubts? Again, I suggest you not to memorize the formula. Try to memorize the concept. A homework for you. See, I've discussed a question 60, 40, 700, 300. Try to solve the same question 2 to 3 times using the concepts. It's a homework from my side. I repeat, try to solve this question. Those who are still not thorough with the concept, solve the same question 2 to 3 times using concepts rather than applying formula. Once you are done with it, then solve few questions of study material from material cost variance. Trust me, guys, you will be the master of material cost variance. So thank you so much, guys, for your time and patience, for active participation in the session. Many students were active. So still, I suggest you guys do post your answers. Whatever the queries you have, do post your queries. I'll be addressing each and every query of yours. So let's meet up in the next session with remaining part of standard costing. Okay, Gurvinder Kaur sir, 90,000. Please explain. So 1 unit, 300 kgs. So for 300 units, how many? Very simple, 90,000 kgs. So thank you so much, guys. God bless you. Enjoy your day. Do revise what I have discussed, because labor variance is just like material variance. So do revise what I have discussed till now. I'll post the final answer sheet, Tambeshwari. So thank you so much, guys. God bless you. Take care. Enjoy. Have a great day.